What's up, guys? So earlier I heard a little tiny leak in this when I was max velocity shooting it, and I just want to investigate possible causes or see if I have like an O-ring or something that's not up to snuff. So I'm going to tear it down, and after that video, like an hour ago, it's like 7 or it's like 8 o'clock right now, but like at 6:30, I took this outside. I dialed the velocity down, and I was just shooting paintballs with it to just bring it back to normal. Because I don't want to cause any like long-term damage. But it's really easy just to adjust this to make this hit super hard. So when I was shooting some paint, it was still kind of turned up too high, and it chopped a couple balls in the barrel. So I did get some paint in the barrel, and I'm just taking this whole thing apart. It's just a fake suppressor, but I wanted to put grease on these threads and on the inside of this. So I'll do that in a second. And then I already swabbed out this this barrel pretty good. It's kind of not that like shiny in there, but it doesn't have to be shiny. I just that's what this is here for. So that's already dried off and everything. To take this apart, depending what type of screws you have, if you have the stock, the normal like Tippmann screws on this, you're gonna need a 1/8 Allen wrench. And since I'm gonna be doing maintenance, I'm gonna put grease and oil on stuff, and I need this to get into the valve. And if I want to tear apart the puncture assembly, I'll probably leave that alone. It seems to be okay. And you're gonna need a 1/2-inch wrench if you have the remote line adapter. You could try to like get your finger on this and twist it. It just depends how tight you put it. But I just loosened it up. It just needs to you need to snug it up with the wrench, or if you have like a crazy hand strength, just tighten it on there. So that was a 1/2-inch thing. If I was to air this up right now, all the air would just leak out the back because this is not plugging that area anymore. I'll probably put some grease and oil on this O-ring. And then, just make sure that your CO2 is empty. This is already empty because I was using the remote line. And this marker needs to have an empty CO2 in the front to plug up the front hole. So you can add like grease to this if you want. The O-ring, doesn't matter. I don't think that really holds any pressure or anything. Like this isn't sealed. What is sealed is the that little orange washer in there. That's what seals the CO2 cartridge to the front to like plug it up. I have the I just bought some stainless steel screws for this one. So these screws are size 10 in like American standard size, 32 threads per inch. So it's the fine thread. So they're 1032, and the ones I got, they're not like perfect match. They do sell a Lapco, I believe, has a kit for this where you get all the stainless steel screws and nuts. I think it's like $19, or maybe it's like 18 or something. I don't really see a need to have both sides shiny. So you need 4 3/4 inch long. If you go this route, if you don't buy that Lapco paintball kit thing, screw kit for the TiPX, you need 4 3/4 inch long 1032 like socket head screws. You need 4 of those. You need 2 1/2-inch long ones, and you need 1 1-inch long one. The ones from Labco, I believe they're like 3/8 of an inch and 5/8 of an inch and 7/8. My local store didn't have those specific sizes, 3/8 and 5/8 and 7/8. So I just went up a size. You can't really go shorter because then they won't fit through, and grab the nut on the other side. So I'll show you the back end of this longer one. But all these kind of go past the nut a little bit, and because they're not like, they're only like 1/8 of an inch too long. So I'll show you that right now. I'm just trying to pop this thing out. Just being garbage. So all right, so there's one of the 1/2 inch, and here's the other 1/2 inch screw. So that's out. So if you have the Labco ones, it won't hang off the edge. Or if you can find 7/8 and 5/8 and 3/8, so they kind of stick out a little bit, because I have the screws at my hardware store. They didn't have that, 3/8, 5/8, 7/8. They didn't have those sizes, but they had 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. So that's what I used. It was only like $7 or something for all these screws. They're pretty much like $1 each, or like $1.19. It just depends how long they are. I think these ones were like 85 cents, and then these ones were like 119, and I think this was 119 or 129 or something. They all had different prices. So now that the screws are out, there's just those 7 screws, and that's it. And then the remote line thing, if you have one. I already popped the magazine out, so right here you have to pry this open like that. So it's really similar to the TCR, Burn a TCR or Tippmann TCR. This is almost like exactly the same. So now that that's open, you want to hold this shroud down and slowly like pull this, like pry it apart from the bottom side. So this is off now. There's nothing in here. So I did pop a little bit of paint, so I'm going to clean that out. And there's a little bit of paint in there from the paintballs, from these. Because yeah, I like to shoot this just normal speed when I'm not really using it for home defense, less lethal type of stuff, just to have fun. Yeah, like I said, I used to paintball, so I like to just like shoot stuff. And I have a large sort of property to do that. This is the exalt shroud. It just comes off. You can put it either way you want. I think when I put these on, my red one and the gray one were opposite directions, so I fixed that. So this you want to hold down because there's pressure on this bolt and breech and stuff. The easiest thing to do is just pull this off, this gas line, pull it off of the CO2 puncture housing, or remove it from the regulator. Either one, it works. So I'm just going to pull that off really quick. Might be a little bit snug. Mine's being a little bit snug, and it's almost come off. So it just came off right now. Housing's off, and then since the housing's off, you can release the pressure on this thing, because if you didn't, the bolt will kind of hit it, or this breech will kind of hit it and stuff. So just push your thumb in like this way and hold on to the back and kind of like lift out at the same time. It's not that hard to do. So pressure's off. I don't have to worry about this like flying open or whatever. I'm gonna get a paper towel and clean off all this chopped paint and pull this gas line out. This was a Harbor Freight O-ring from one of the kits, I think from the metric kit. It seems like it's holding up okay. The first time I put one of these in here, when I pushed it into the regulator, I kind of like tore it, so I had to get a new one. But yeah, these do need some grease. They're a little bit thin on the grease. And I'm gonna get a paper towel and clean up all this stuff. All right, so I got a paper towel. I'm gonna take off the trigger because I'm gonna be getting into all that. There's a pin in the trigger. So you have your trigger and a pin. Just put it off to the side. I'm gonna get the detent out of here, and the other, oh no, this one only has one. Okay, it's easy. So I'm just gonna clean this off. It won't do anything if it stays there, but I don't want this thing to be all full of junk. It doesn't need to be full of. So I'm just getting in there, cleaning out all this random stuff. I'll probably put some grease on these threads, just so whatever barrel I put in there can catch easier. So I'll put that over there. It's pretty much good. You can like take this whole thing out, or you can pull the regulator off. I feel like one of these O-rings might be leaking, maybe. So I'm going to take this out. And these are still Harbor Freight O-rings. On these black ones, these are Harbor Freight O-rings from a kit, a metric size O-ring kit. They seem to be holding up. Like I said, when I assembled this the first time, I pushed that brass tube in here, and I think I was kind of angled a little bit, and it sheared off one of the edges. But they're working okay. I'm probably going to leave this alone because I have this set where I want it to be. If I start messing around with this, it's going to throw off the velocity, and I have it hitting like on the HPA tank. I have this hitting about 220 to 240. It kind of moves around a little bit. So I want it to kind of stay in there. If I hook it up to CO2, it'll probably go up to like 260 to 280. And this seems to be fine. This is the other side of the regulator. This houses like the PRV, pressure relief springs and stuff. So I'm going to leave this alone for now. I will put grease and stuff in these areas, and then I'm going to put grease on the remote line part. And this is the valve. This is the bumper, bolt bumper. I'm going to clean off all this stuff because it's a little bit, the grease is a little old on it. And this is the bolts. So just inspect your bolt to see if there's damage on this O-ring. It looks okay. Every once in a while, I'll see like little marks or like chips and stuff on the O-ring, but right now it looks okay. So I'm gonna clean off all this old junky grease that's all like not cooked out, but like black and gray and stuff. And I'm pretty sure you can use like a tank O-ring, like a size 15 O-ring. You can put an O-ring on this if you want to put a new one. I have to change it like maybe every, like once a year, twice a year. You can see a little bit of wear on the power tube right here. So yeah, I'm just going to wipe all this stuff off. I'm not going to get too far into the valve. Like I'm not going to pull this firing valve assembly. So inside here, there's two O-rings underneath, right here and right here. And then inside here is like the firing pin. I think it's called the firing pin actuator or something. And in here, there's like a O-ring sandwich and a couple little like brass bushings and stuff. So I'm just going to leave that alone because that's not causing an issue, I don't believe. If I still hear a hissing noise, I'll probably have to check that out. But I am going to open up the valve and mess with the spool a little bit, spool O-rings. So this is the a 1/2-inch wrench. This also fits the remote line adapter. And I'm just opening this up so I can get to it from both sides. The first time you open it, it might be really tight. The second and third time you open it, it'll be a little bit easier to open. I don't see any problems in here. Looks pretty much fine. I'm gonna put grease on this O-ring and just remove any random stuff I see that shouldn't be in here. Yeah, so I'm gonna take this out, put grease on that. So that's the normal TiPX valve, and you can see those 9 little holes. Maybe I'll turn off my light, it'll come out better. So there's 9 little holes in there. And I don't know, some people say that HPA on this, it doesn't get that fast. Like they struggle to get their paintball usage to hit under 300 feet per second. But for me, I don't know if mine's just a random fluke or something, but for mine, I can easily get 300 feet per second without the special TCR valve, which is the one I put in my my red shroud TiPX. So I don't know if maybe they're just using the stock barrel, and since I have other barrels, I can get those speeds. But I feel like even with my normal barrel, without even cranking the velocity adjuster like maxed out, using HPA, my high pressure air tank, I feel like I'm easily able to get the paintball speeds or surpass that. Because normally paintball you want to have the shots going like 280 feet per second to allow for some kind of like fluctuation. But yeah, I've seen on forums and stuff that people want the TCR valve so that they can run HPA on their TiPX easier. And I don't know, for me, every TiPX I've had 2 of them. Every one I've had seems to work perfectly fine on the HPA tanks that I'm using, and I'm just using normal HPA tanks, 800 psi output. So yeah, I don't understand. Maybe they have like leaks in their stuff or something. But those are old paintball forums and message boards I look at. They're from like mid 2010s or even like from 4 years ago. Because yeah, these are like dinosaur paintball markers. Everyone has like electronic stuff now, none of this mechanical with little moving parts and stuff. Some people use sidearms like this for paintball, but I don't know. It all depends what type of game you're playing. So some of them have mag-fed games where they only shoot, like they have like 4 magazines and that's all they have. So they have to strategically play. And then other people just have like giant hoppers and shoot like 10 balls a second, and you have to keep refilling the hopper and just kind of outflank your opponent and stuff. But yeah, so I cleaned out these. I'm gonna put grease in here, and on this O-ring, this is all cleaned out now. I'm gonna get back to the valve and pop open this snap ring. So you probably will need snap ring pliers. I don't know if you can use like some long needle nose pliers to get this out. I always keep a finger on one side just in case it snaps off and you don't want it to go like flying across the room or something. So I'm just gonna struggle with this for a second. And yeah, I always have a little bit of a tough time with these snap rings. So I just put it back in and I didn't want to. I'm gonna pause it real quick. All right, took me like a minute, but I got it off. So I'll just put that over there. I've taken this marker apart a lot, so like I know where all these parts go and stuff. I'll probably, I'll just push this out with my finger. So I'm pushing this out on the back and I'm holding on to the cap. I wouldn't normally suggest using like an Allen wrench to push down on the valve, but my chopstick thing is upstairs, and I almost got this out of here. It's kind of being finicky. So yeah, I don't want to mess up the aluminum, so I'm not going to push down too hard with that steel Allen key. I'm going to get my wood chopstick upstairs really quick. All right, wooden chopstick. This is so I don't screw up the valve or like bend something or scratch the shit out of the side or something. So I don't know why it's being so tough to push. Maybe because my fat hand is holding the cap. There you go. All right, so everything came out. I have replaced, actually, no, I haven't replaced any O-rings on this one. So this is the stock. This is actually the TiPX valve. So this one is from like 2009, this valve and all these parts and stuff. I think I replaced one of these with the, factory O-ring. So inside here, there's these 2 pieces. And when you pull the trigger, it causes air to move around. And like, yeah, stuff happens. And that's all because of this firing pin actuator, and the pressure coming in from the valve goes through these little holes in here. When you pull the trigger, this is normally when there's air pressure in this little pin will come out, and then this arm in the back pushes on that pin. Then the pin closes and air pressure flies through here, and that's when all this stuff is like moving around and going bonkers and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of just a general idea of what's going on in here. I'm gonna get the paper towel, clean out some of this stuff. It's a little bit dirty in there, and yeah, this shouldn't take that long. You want to make sure that you're not, if you're using like a paper towel, I would probably want to use like a microfiber or something, microfiber cloth. But if you're using a paper towel, just try to make sure that you don't have any like random like lint and torn paper getting stuck in there. So this looks pretty good now. Just gonna blow on it to make sure there's no random stuff in there. I'm gonna clean off this valve cap, like the back end, and inspect these two O-rings. They look okay still. This one's a little bit discolored, but I don't think it's like leaking or causing a problem. And yeah, I'm gonna put grease and stuff on all these and oil. And for the inside of the valve, you don't need too much grease and stuff, just like a thin layer. You don't need to like cake it on like insane. I'm gonna put way more grease on the bolt and follower tube and the what the hell is it called? Power tube. I'm gonna put stuff on that, like more, and then in here it looks like I'm putting a lot, but I'm gonna thin this out over the other piece as well. And yeah, just get this all greased up again, and yeah, put it back in here. I'm gonna get my oil and put some oil on the edge of this, the inside circle, where this is gonna go. I'm gonna put some oil in there and on these O-rings, just like one drop in each little area. Spin it around in my hands, and then drop that bad boy back in there, and then push it down just pretty gently, and then put a drop over here, and then put a drop down here, and then kind of just like push this in and out just to get that oil and grease worked in. So I'm just pushing the front and then pushing the side and then pushing the front, pushing the side. And I usually have this pushed out all the way whenever I reassemble. So that way it's plugging, this O-ring is plugging this tube, and that's what's keeping it sealed. I think it'll be okay if you don't have it that way when you reassemble it, but I always just out of habit, I keep putting it like that. So I'm gonna drop this spring in there and try to put this on here. And you want to line up the spring with this hole and in on the inside, so you'll kind of know when it's on there correctly. And I'm just gonna push this all closed again, and it's all closed. And yeah, just try not to dig your fingernails in this too hard, and it should be good. I'll put one more drop or two more drops in the front just for good measure. And yeah, you just don't want this thing like swimming in oil. So this is pretty much good now. I'm gonna put the snap ring back on before I forget, and maybe let that oil soak in a little bit before it just falls out. I'm gonna put this back, and it's pretty much like the hardest part of this maintenance, unless you get into the puncture seal, which isn't that much different. It's actually a little bit easier than this. The hardest part is getting the snap ring to open on the puncture seal thing. So there you go. So that's all back in. This is oiled, and I'm gonna get my power tube and put a little bit of grease on this O-ring because it seals the front of the valve, and put that back over here. Put a little bit of grease on this, on these threads, and put a little bit of grease on the inside of here. And drop some oil on the front because it's going to get onto the O-ring. And this looks a little bit stretched out, but I think it's okay still. And you just want to make sure that the O-ring stays inside the power tube, this front part, and that it's not pinched. and like bunching up on an edge, like right here. You want to keep it in there. So just go slowly when you close this down all the way. If you need to get a new O-ring, you know you're gonna need a new O-ring, but mine seems to be okay. It should fit inside the power tube and not be pinched on the edge. Like I shouldn't have a big old chunk of O-ring falling out the side. So this is pretty much good to go. I'm just gonna tighten it with my wrench and just watch the O-ring. You shouldn't see it popping out from this seam, and mine's okay right now. So I'll just do this slowly just to make sure, and the O-ring is not exposed anywhere. I'm just going to give it a little bit more of a tighter turn. You don't have to go crazy on it, just tighten it up. So this is ready to go. This doesn't seem to be having any problems. If I hear leaks again, I'll have to investigate this, but I'll do that later if I hear leaks. So now I have to grease the power tube. I'm going to put a lot of grease on this. As you can see, I had some wear. It's just like striking this a lot. So when you pull the trigger, the bolt is like hitting and sliding on this, so it causes friction. So yeah, you probably want to, depending how much you shoot your TiPX, you probably want to do this like every month, or if you play paintball, you should probably do this like every 2 weeks or so, depending how much you play, or if you even use like your TiPX as a sidearm and you're constantly using it. So this looks okay. I'm gonna put this here, put a little bit of grease or oil, just a line, and then stir that guy around. And then I'm gonna put grease on this and oil on this bolt, and some oil. Make sure you get the O-ring on the end of the bolt. These are all stock pieces. None of this stuff on the inside is different. Like I don't have any, they don't really make too much like aftermarket stuff. There is a bolt you can get that's like a long range bolt, but it doesn't seem to increase your performance when you're using this for self-defense or home defense. So this thing's pretty slick now. I'm gonna put some grease in this little hole right here, because that's where the brass tube is gonna go, and this little thing is gonna fit in here. So I'm gonna spin this around to kind of spread that grease out, because it kind of just got it stuck on one side. So yeah, that's pretty good. And this will attach to the regulator, and just getting grease on the O-ring, and I'm gonna clean off this bolt because it has a bunch of old grease on it and old oil and stuff, and probably a little bit of paint. And yeah, gonna grease this up, and then put that on the bolt. This doesn't usually take me, a half hour to do this. It's only because I'm walking you guys through this, but if you have one of these, you've probably already done maintenance on it, or something of this nature. So yeah, now this is in here. I'm gonna put this brass piece into the regulator, push it together, and you want to make sure that the pin on that rectangle piece is as close as it can be. So right now it is as close as it can be. You just don't want it sticking out. So this is good. I'm gonna put this, drop it back in here, and then everything is chilling. And yeah, this arm, this actuator arm, push it back all the way, and that's what pushes that little pin thing. So I have my detent. It's a little bit worn out, but it still was fine. It's not dropping balls out the barrel. And this is the barrel part. This is where the threads go, so it's going to be facing the front. And this is where the bolt and the spring goes. And this bumper, bolt bumper, this doesn't need O-ring, grease or anything. This is fine. this O-ring is fine. You can put grease in this like receiving area for the bolt, and just to keep less friction for a little while at least. And I'm gonna put some grease on these barrel threads, and I think that's good. So yeah, on the TiPX, once I get this breech in here, I can put one of the screws in it and it'll keep it pressurized and keep it snug. So I'm probably gonna do that. So you just kind of put this together, put the valve back in there, and you want to put your detent on the bottom of the breech. It's already there, and then just kind of close this and push down. And then the detent is right there, and it's shaped like the front of the ball. So that's fine the way it is. So what you can do to keep this from like flying apart is put one of your screws right here and tighten it down, and it'll keep this from wanting to like fly open, and then you won't have to hold this very much. So I'm just tightening this down. The bolt caught on the back, on the nut back there, and yeah, no, I don't have to hold that anymore. It's keeping this all compressed. So I'm going to put grease on this, put grease on the regulator, put grease in here. This is where this tube fits. It's going to fit here and here. And yeah, we're almost done. You just got to put it all back together. So grease on this O-ring, grease on this other O-ring. I'll put oil on this too, just to, you know, get the double whammy of maintenance. And yeah, this is pretty much good. I'll probably just wipe this off on my finger onto the end, and then put some of it into the rag, put some of it into here, just so there's like a light coat. This seems to be fine. I haven't had any problems with this puncture thing leaking. You do have a cap on the back that can come off. It actually just came off right now, so that fits right there. There's a puncture pin in here. When you pull the trigger, I don't know if you guys can see that little thing moving around. It pierces the CO2 cartridge. So this is like kind of like the original Byrna mechanics, Byrna SD, Byrna LE mechanics. It kind of originated from this Tippmann TiPX, and because yeah, this thing's from like 2009 or 2008 or something. This Tippmann TiPX, it's super old, but still works pretty damn good. So I'm gonna push the O-ring in there. You want to try to get it as straight as you can so that you don't tear the O-ring, and then push this other O-ring into the regulator, and so that's in. So yeah, this is pretty much good. I will put a couple drops of oil on the front of the seat for the CO2 puncture thing. I already put, you know, oil on the CO2 carts, but it doesn't hurt to have oil in there, because inside there's a couple springs and some more O-rings and stuff to keep this from leaking, because this can leak. So I'm just gonna kind of move that oil around in there a little bit and hold on to the regulator so it doesn't fall out. This isn't gonna pop off because we put that screw in there. And then you have to do this last, because you can't put this in and then put the shell on. So you have to do that afterwards. And don't forget your magazine release. And that goes in here, and I might not be able to, I think I can, maybe. So it goes underneath this brass tube, and I should have put this in first, but yeah, I was able to finesse that in there. And yeah, put your trigger back, put your safety back. The trigger, this little pin right here on the back side of the trigger, it fits in that actuator arm area. So you can kind of see down there. right here, the trigger pin is going to, the one that's attached to the trigger is going to fit in that little hole right there. And I should have did this first, but I'm a dumbass sometimes, so, or all the time if you, if you think I'm stupid. So it's fine with me. I don't care. I'm going to try to get that in there. And yeah, I should have put this first, but don't always work out that way. So that's in. You put your trigger pin in, and then now it should pivot in the correct little area. And yeah, you can kind of see the actuator arm moving around a little bit, the little black thing moving around. So yeah, it's all caught. It's in the right spot. And then put your trigger back. I kind of like to put a little bit of grease and stuff on these O-rings because sometimes they get kind of snug, but I think I've pretty much worn mine in pretty good. But it's just to make it easier to push this back and forth. There's no performance issues or anything with that. So I'm just going to remove this because I need to put the shell back on the front. And don't forget your CO2 housing thing. It just fits in the front right there. It has holes, and it has holes on the shell, so you can't really, like, the only way you can put this backwards, it won't like close. So this just goes in the front, and you can put it any way. You can't really mess that up. So I'm gonna remove this screw and put the shell back on, and then I should be good. If I hear that leak again, I'll have to, you know, look around it inside here, see what's going on. One thing you can do is put your shroud back, and the shroud is kind of holding pressure on the breech. So if you hold the shroud now, this is all pressing against the shroud, all the pressure from the breech and the spring and stuff. So this should be okay to do this. I've done this a lot of times. It's never like popped off or anything on me. So I'm just adding a little bit of oil to the bolts. And gonna get my shell. I'm just double checking. So mag release is in, triggers in, trigger spring or actuator arm, safety. You have your mag release. All my tubes look correct. Yeah, it's pretty much good. The little CO2 thingies right there. So I usually hold mine down because if you hold it this way, the magazine release gets in the way and it wants to get stuck underneath this shell. So it should just line up. I usually line up the safety and the magazine release. So I'm just going to push that in a little bit. And it's back together. It's snapped together already. Front's back together. The rear is back together. There's no weird like seams or anything going on with this. So yeah, if you put like this screw bolt in the central part of the marker, this one holds like all the pressure for if anything's gonna like pop off and go wonky and stuff. This one will keep any of that from happening. So once you put pressure and tighten this one down, this should be fine. It's not gonna fall apart. You're not gonna have stuff flying all over the place. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna put these screws back. Thanks for checking out the video. This is an old paintball pistol. It's like the grandpa paintball pistol, and they made other ones, but none of them really caught on, or they were more problematic than this one was, or they were like pump action, or they just weren't made well. A lot of the paintball companies that used to make the other types of pistols are like no longer around anymore. Bankrupt, gone out of business, or got bought out by a different company. So yeah, I'm just putting grease on this thing, and this was old Teflon tape. It doesn't really need it. And there's a little drop of oil. Gonna re-oil that O-ring. So this seems like it's good, and I'm gonna put this back in here and then start the thread, go backwards for a second and then go the right way, and then get my 1/2 inch wrench just to get that little final little snug on there. And then yeah, retighten down all these hex head screws. These are so much nicer to do than the T4E tiny little super small little screws. And then I only have 7 of these, and yeah, it's the T4E stuff. I mean, it's new, it's like new tech, new everything, but like the screws they use on them are so terrible. Like, I really want to get super small like hex head ones for it or something. Something other than Phillips. And yeah, like I'm pretty sure you could probably put like a 3mm screw in there because it's just grabbing into plastic on the T4E stuff. But yeah, there's like every single one has like at least 12 or 15 on the outside shell. So yeah, I'm just snugging all these bolts up, and yeah, it's pretty much it. It's kind of similar to the TCR. The TCR has the same brass pipes everywhere, the same puncture housing, sort of, and the valve is almost identical. It just has different shaped holes in the valve, but the parts on the inside are almost the same. There's very minuscule differences with those little those 2 little parts with the 2 O-rings on each side, and like the cap and the spring and stuff. Like, they're really similar, but they're just slightly different. So yeah, I think that's it. This one's all put back together. I'm just gonna put grease on these threads, and yeah, thanks for checking this one out, and I'll see you guys next time. So yeah, I don't know how, but somehow now this is appearing in the little window. Hammerhead doesn't show up, but a couple times I put this on here, and maybe it's just on my red one, it doesn't show up. It doesn't line up correctly, but yep, she's ready to go again, and it's hitting right now like paintball speed, so I'll have to do some velocity adjustment on it if I want it to be, you know, hitting for less lethal defense. But yep, she's back, guys. There's nothing wrong with it. It just has had a tiny little leak in here, but I won't know if that leak's gone until I air it up and use it again. So that was fun, and yeah, this time I'll actually see you next time.